Once you have made up your mind, stick to it. There's no longer any if or but. Napoleon. This quote, attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte, emphasizes the importance of resolve and decisiveness. Once a decision is made, Napoleon suggests, one should commit to it fully, without second-guessing or allowing doubts to undermine the chosen course of action. The emphasis on eliminating if or but after a decision is made speaks to the value he placed on steadfastness and the execution of one's will, which is a hallmark of strong leadership and strategic thinking. This approach can be particularly relevant in situations that require firm leadership and clear direction, though it's also important to balance decisiveness with the flexibility to adapt when circumstances change. With audacity, one can undertake anything, but not do everything. Napoleon. This quote from Napoleon Bonaparte acknowledges the power of boldness in initiating action, while also recognizing the limits of what can be achieved. Audacity, or boldness, is a driving force that allows individuals to embark on ventures, confront challenges, and break through barriers that might deter the more timid. It's an essential trait for leadership and innovation. However, Napoleon also points out the natural limitations that exist, the fact that no matter how daring one might be, it's impossible to accomplish everything. This reflects an understanding of human and logistical limitations and the necessity of prioritizing goals. It serves as a reminder that while courage is critical to start projects or lead charges, success often requires more than just bold action. It requires strategy, resources, and sometimes the humility to recognize and accept one's own limitations.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more valuable quotes from the legends.
I have only one counsel for you: be master. Napoleon. This brief advice from Napoleon highlights the value he placed on authority and control. Be master suggests that one should strive to be in command of their own circumstances, decisions, and destiny. It implies taking charge, not just in the sense of leading others, but also in mastering oneself, one's emotions, and one's actions. Napoleon's counsel to be a master can be interpreted in various contexts, from personal development to professional leadership. In personal terms, it suggests self-discipline and self-mastery. Professionally, it could mean striving for excellence and asserting oneself in one's field or position. The essence of the advice is about not being passive or leaving one's fate to chance or to the will of others. It's an encouragement to actively shape one's life and environment, to be the driving force rather than a passive element in the unfolding of events. Until you spread your wings, you'll have no idea how far you can fly. Napoleon. This metaphorical advice attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte speaks to the potential that lies within each individual and the discovery of one's capabilities through action. The imagery of spreading one's wings is commonly associated with birds taking flight, symbolizing freedom, exploration, and the beginning of a journey. The statement suggests that one cannot truly understand the extent of their abilities or the heights they can achieve until they take the risk of trying. It encourages taking initiative and stepping out of one's comfort zone, as doing so is the only way to realize one's full potential. In essence, this quote is about the importance of taking action to uncover latent talents and possibilities, implying that self-discovery and achievement are often a result of courage and experiential learning. A true man hates no one. Napoleon. This quote ascribed to Napoleon Bonaparte offers a reflection on the nature of enmity and the disposition of a true man, implying a person of good character and integrity. It suggests that genuine strength of character is marked not by the capacity to hold grudges or harbor animosity, but rather by the ability to move beyond hatred. The sentiment posits that hatred is a weakness rather than a strength, indicating that a person who is secure in themselves and their values has no need to hate others. The ability to avoid hatred might also imply a level of understanding, empathy, or at least a strategic choice to focus on constructive emotions and actions that contribute to better outcomes for oneself and others. Though it may seem at odds with Napoleon's own tumultuous and war-driven life, the quote can be seen as an aspirational ideal, advocating for personal peace and moral fortitude. It implies that true strength lies in the capacity for tolerance, understanding, and perhaps forgiveness, rather than in the harboring of ill will. Riches do not consist in the possession of treasures, but in the use made of them. Napoleon. This quote reflects a practical and utilitarian view of wealth, emphasizing the functionality of resources over mere ownership. Napoleon Bonaparte here suggests that true wealth is not measured by the accumulation of assets, but by the ability to wisely utilize them to achieve one's goals and to create value. The idea is that treasures or riches have no intrinsic worth if they are hoarded or unused. Their real value comes from their application, how they are invested, spent, or otherwise employed to generate benefit, whether for an individual, a community, or society at large. This perspective encourages the active and effective management of assets, highlighting the importance of stewardship over mere possession. It's a call to action for those with resources to use them in a way that brings about positive outcomes, rather than letting them sit idle. It reinforces the notion that the impact of wealth is found in its movement and influence rather than in its stationary accumulation. Skepticism is a virtue in history as well as in philosophy. Napoleon. Napoleon's assertion here recognizes skepticism as an essential intellectual stance both in studying the past, history, and in the pursuit of knowledge, philosophy. Skepticism, in this context, refers to the practice of questioning and critically examining beliefs, narratives, and purported facts rather than accepting them at face value. In history, skepticism is a virtue because it prompts historians and students of history to investigate the sources, consider biases, and look beyond the dominant narratives to understand the complexities and multiple perspectives of past events. It encourages a rigorous approach to understanding the cause and effect of historical developments and guards against the uncritical acceptance of potentially flawed accounts. Similarly, in philosophy, skepticism is fundamental to the discipline's critical nature. Philosophers use skepticism to challenge assumptions, probe the validity of arguments, and seek deeper truths. It is through skeptical inquiry that philosophical theories are tested and refined. Napoleon's statement suggests that skepticism, when applied constructively, leads to a more nuanced and profound comprehension of the world by fostering a culture of inquiry and evidence-based reasoning. The French complain of everything and always. Napoleon. This quote attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte offers a wry observation of the French national character as perceived during his time. It suggests that the French people have a propensity to express dissatisfaction or to protest against various issues, whether big or small. Napoleon's comment might reflect the spirited political and social discourse in France, especially during his own era, which was marked by revolution, political upheaval, and rapid societal changes. The French Revolution, which preceded Napoleon's rise to power, was a period where complaining and voicing discontent were common as the populace sought to overthrow the old regime and establish new rights and freedoms. This stereotype of the French as frequent complainers may also be a commentary on the cultural norm of being outspoken about one's views and grievances, a trait that can be seen as part of the national identity. It's important to note, however, that such generalizations are oversimplified and do not capture the full complexity or diversity of any nation's people. Moreover, the inclination to criticize or to seek improvement through complaint is not unique to France. It is a common human behavior seen in many societies. Napoleon's remark, while humorous and pointed, also underscores the importance of freedom of expression as a means by which citizens engage with and shape their governance and societal structures. Friends must always be treated as if one day they might be enemies. Napoleon. This quote attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte reflects a cautious and perhaps cynical approach to interpersonal relationships, particularly within the context of political or power dynamics. The advice to treat friends as potential future enemies suggests maintaining a degree of reserve and prudence in even the closest relationships. Napoleon's perspective here might be influenced by his experience in the often treacherous and shifting alliances of political and military life. Such an outlook could be seen as a defensive strategy to protect oneself from betrayal, ensuring that one does not become overly vulnerable by sharing too much information or relying too heavily on others who might one day have conflicting interests. This approach to relationships, while it might safeguard against certain risks, also indicates a lack of trust and could potentially hinder the development of genuine, deep connections. It may be practical in a context where power and strategy are paramount, but less so in personal life where trust and openness are the foundations of true friendship. The sentiment expressed by Napoleon in this quote is a reminder of the complex nature of human relationships and the caution that sometimes has to be exercised, especially in environments where the stakes are high and loyalties can be fluid. Men take only their needs into consideration, never their abilities. Napoleon. This Napoleon Bonaparte quote offers a critical observation about human nature, particularly in the context of ambition and resource allocation. It suggests that individuals often focus on what they require or desire without equally considering what they are capable of contributing or achieving. In essence, Napoleon is pointing out a tendency for people to be driven by their wants and the pursuit of satisfying their needs, sometimes without a realistic assessment of their skills, talents, or the effort required to fulfill those needs. This might lead to a mismatch between one's aspirations and one's actual capacity to realize them, potentially resulting in disappointment or failure. The quote could also imply that individuals might overlook opportunities to use their abilities to their fullest extent because they are too focused on immediate needs rather than long-term potential. It's a reminder that a balance between understanding one's needs and recognizing one's abilities is crucial for making informed decisions and setting achievable goals. This perspective encourages self-awareness and a realistic appraisal of one's own strengths and limitations when planning and pursuing objectives, whether in personal endeavors, career aspirations, or other areas of life. Impossible is a word to be found only in the dictionary of fools. Napoleon. This famous quote attributed to Napoleon Bonaparte encapsulates a philosophy of relentless ambition and the refusal to acknowledge limitations. By dismissing the word impossible, Napoleon is advocating for a mindset that does not accept conventional boundaries or limitations on what can be achieved. The phrase "dictionary of fools" suggests that only those who lack wisdom or insight would subscribe to the notion that some endeavors are beyond reach. Napoleon's own life and career were characterized by bold actions and attempts to overcome great odds, which often involved pushing the boundaries of what was thought to be achievable in his time. The sentiment behind the quote is motivational, encouraging people to think beyond perceived constraints and to strive for their goals with conviction. It champions the idea that with enough determination, creativity, and effort, what seems insurmountable can often be conquered. However, it's worth noting that while such an outlook can inspire innovation and progress, it can also lead to overreaching and a disregard for practical or ethical considerations. As with many powerful ideas, the key is in finding a balance and applying such principles with wisdom and discernment. Men are moved by two levers only: fear and self-interest. Napoleon. This quote from Napoleon Bonaparte reflects a pragmatic and somewhat cynical view of human motivation. Napoleon suggests that there are two primary forces that drive human behavior: fear and self-interest. This perspective is rooted in a realist approach to understanding why people act the way they do, and it has been a common viewpoint in various theories of politics, economics, and psychology. Fear is a powerful motivator because it is linked to our survival instincts. People often act to avoid danger, pain, or negative outcomes. Fear can compel individuals to conform to laws, perform duties, or engage in actions that they believe will protect them from harm. Self-interest is the pursuit of personal benefit, gain, or pleasure. It is the idea that people are primarily motivated by their own wants and needs, and they will make decisions that they believe will serve them best. Self-interest can lead to competition, innovation, and productivity, but also to conflict and unethical behavior when unchecked. Napoleon's observation might have been particularly relevant to his experiences as a military and political leader, where he would have seen firsthand how the promise of reward or the threat of punishment could be used to influence and control people. While fear and self-interest are undeniably significant factors in human behavior, this view does not account for the full complexity of human motives. Altruism, empathy, love, honor, ideology, and many other factors can also have a profound impact on why people do what they do. Napoleon's quote may overgeneralize human behavior, but it does capture two of the more tangible levers that can be observed in many social and personal dynamics.